Hello, and welcome to our webinar today, How to Boost HR Efficiency While Improving the Employee Experience. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Kate Rogers. I am the Director of Strategic Marketing for NeoGov, and I'm joined today by Jim Peregula, and he is the Vice President of Product, specifically for our HRIS product. So what are we going to cover today? Why the employee experience matters in 2023, the barriers that we are facing in creating that positive experience, some solutions, some strategies to improve the customer experience, and then how NeoGov can help you with that. And we'll also open it up for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to get us started.
Great. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you, Kate. So why does the employee experience matter in 2023? Next slide. When you look at there's different areas, obviously, of why it matters. Avoid burnout. Public sector employees' burnout levels tend to trend higher than private sector, up to about 20%. Higher performance. A Gartner survey showed happy employees are 69% more likely to be high performers. And of course, saving money. Replacing an individual employee is costly, can range from 1.5 to 2 times that employee's annual salary. And then lastly, impact on recruiting. If the employee experience is viewed as poor, then only 40% of public sector employees would recommend a job at their company to family and friends. Next slide. So employees who report a positive employee experience, what does it mean? 60% more likely to have aspirations to stay at their current organization, 52% are more likely to report high discretionary effort, and 69% more likely to be a high performer. Next slide. Common barriers.
Next, we're going to talk about the common barriers that you're facing to creating that positive employee experience. And we're going to start off this section with a poll. Do you recognize any of these in your organization? Our technology is overcomplicated, not built for the public sector. We have to manage multiple systems for different processes. There's no employee self-serve or all of the above. So the poll is now open. If you could take just a minute and let us know, what are you struggling with in your organization today? Multiple systems. So I think we might have an answer for you. Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk a little bit about the common challenges.
Great, thanks, Kate. So common challenges, wrong technology first and foremost, doesn't meet the public sector needs. Too many systems. You have admins who are keying in employee data into disparate systems, and lack of employee autonomy. Employees depend heavily on HR to make simple changes. So what are the results of these challenges? Next slide. Inefficiency, first and foremost. Complicated workarounds hamper employee performance. Frustration and errors. HR staff become burdened with tactical management, data management, instead of spending time on more strategic initiatives. And lastly, there's that lack of trust. Employees who are bogged down with tedious processes for simple changes may see it as a lack of trust between the employer and the organization. Next slide on the cost. So we think about the cost to the organization, wasted resources, right? Processes that are inefficient, they waste time, money, and employee talent. We've got low engagement. When employees are disengaged, they're likely to perform less efficiently and contribute to higher absenteeism and turnover. And then, of course, turnover, those vacant roles could impact remaining employees to pick up the slack and ultimately contributing to a negative cycle. Strategies to improve this public sector employee experience. The focus points. So using the right technology, these are tools that are purpose-built for public sector to help increase operational efficiency. and lessen the HR stress. Build employee trust, lessen HR burden, and build trust and transparency by leveraging employee self-service. And of course, align your purpose, highlighted organizational values, reinforce how every employee matters and contributes to the overall mission. Trust between employees and staff results in 74% less stress and 40% less burnout. 86% of workers believe aligning their values and aspirations is important for their job. Next slide. 41% of HR professionals claim people as their most scarce resource, and yet these HR teams are spending countless hours on manual processes in disparate systems. Give your team time back with HRIS. NeoGov's HRIS. It's allowing you to boost HR efficiency and provide a more positive employee experience. Eliminate multiple systems. It's one central hub for all critical employee data. You build trust and transparency with employee self-service. You meet the unique public sector needs with purpose-built technology, and ultimately save time and resources by automating manual tasks. So looking at some of those HR features on the next slide, you've got e-signature, allows organizations to save up to 40 working hours per month. Automated onboarding reduces time to productivity by 33% and turnover up to 30%. And here's where we start to talk about as a platform as a service, where we have other modules that allow you to do the automated onboarding and have one central hub between the onboarding and the rest of the HRIS solutions. And then ultimately, employee self-service. It reduces time required for admin tasks by 40 to 60%, which equates to saving nearly 2 hours per day. Next slide. And if you just look at that, what that saving time and money for an organization and what that savings would look like, it's pretty substantial.
So we wanted to leave plenty of time for you to ask questions, to engage with Jim about the employee experience and how our platform can enable that experience. So we're going to start off with some questions. First one is, how can we show inefficiencies in our organization to help justify the switch to this type of software?
So
Jim?
in terms of efficiencies, meaning you're going to gain efficiencies, right, by making a change from systems that are disparate and broken and not central, by some of the things that we've already talked about, right? So that you'll be gaining time back on the HR staff, you'd be gaining trust between the employee and the organization. So having a system where you have everything all in one place and intuitive workflows helps your organization to become more efficient. Not to mention some of the burden of HR that will be lessened because you're going to be giving autonomy and enable your employees through employee self-service.
Can you elaborate on the alignment of values between an agency and employees?
In terms of what the goals are for the particular agency, I'm assuming?
We talk a lot in this thought leadership piece that of the alignment of values and how important that is in keeping employees engaged and how that leads to better retention and recruitment.
I mean, first and foremost is obviously building the trust between the employee and the employer, and giving them the tools that they need to succeed, and lessening the burden of minutia tasks that the HR staff has to has to oversee when you don't have employees that have exactly what they need to do their job in a complete way. And so it's really saying that as an employer, as an organization, we value the employee, we value their time, we value the staff, the HR staff, to make sure that they're being as productive as possible, and they're spending time on more strategic initiatives and less on tactical. So I think when you look at valuing productivity and time and resources, by having some of these solutions will help move in that regard. So in other words, if I know that, I want employees to be and staff to be more productive, you implement some of these solutions so that they can be. Meaning that employee self-service, I'm not going to be bogging down HR with certain requests. I'm going to be productive in my own way, and then I'm going to be able to handle some of these things on my own. And of course, on the other side of it, on HR, I can focus on things that are more strategic for the organization and not deal in more of the tactical day-to-day tasks.
One thing we're always thinking about is data protection. How would this impact our employees' data security?
I mean, data security is top of mind for us. We have certain certifications already, whether it's SOC compliance, FedRAMP, and we can provide anybody with any of that information. But obviously, we take data security very seriously, so the data is obviously secure, and we can certainly back that up with any additional artifacts or content to substantiate it.
And do you have any tips on encouraging employees to utilize self-service instead of asking HR to do it?
The tips, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Once they see the features that are available in self-service, whether it's their if it's payroll information, their paycheck information, whether there's certain tasks and their time punching and benefits, I think the tip would be, if you really don't want to depend on having to contact HR and there's some cycle time wasted, and you want this information at your fingertips, you would use the mobile app to gain, or the portal to gain this information. And it allows you to just be more independent, and you can make certain decisions for yourself that, you may need to contact HR for approval, but it's that less back and forth, and you can focus on things that are more important instead of having to send emails and contact HR to just make simple changes or to make simple requests. So it gives you autonomy, it gives you peace of mind, it helps build the trust between yourself and management, because you're allowed to make these changes, right? There's some of those have a workflow where there's an approval process, which is just part of the process. But I think what it does at the end of the day is it allows the employee to stand on his or her own.
Well, and the mobile app really puts it at their fingertips. I mean, being able to do it from their device, from their mobile device, from a tablet, when they're sitting on the couch in the evening, taking it with them as they need that sort of information is a huge value add. And I think really does encourage employees to utilize self-service when we make it so easy.
Especially when you're dealing with a remote workforce, or you might have a workforce that's out in the field, or maybe one that you don't see every day as a manager. I want to know that my employees' needs are being met. And again, whether it's a simple HR change, it could be a demographic change, or there's an issue with a paycheck, or there's something going on with the time punching, that employee is in complete control and can see that data at his or her discretion and his or her need. And having it where it is mobile available and having a native mobile app, again, further helps with that efficiency and just getting the data at the time that person needs it.
Moving all our HR systems into one new platform is a huge undertaking. What kind of support would we receive throughout this process?
You have a dedicated team that works on the implementation that consists of an implementations consultant and a project manager. And so, you'd be delivered a project plan. There's some things that obviously would be phased. There's conversion of data, migration of data. There's parallel systems or parallel tracks or testing the data. So it's a thorough process without it being, this forever process that never ends. So We work with your team to get all the requirements. You know, how much data needs to be brought in from a historical perspective. Generally, it's between 3 to 5 years, mostly on the employee indicative data, but you have a dedicated team that works through the implementation process, and you ultimately are signing off on the implementation. And the implementations team works hand in hand with product to help establish best practices. So as you are, you know, doing this implementation, there might be some processes that you've been doing for a very long time that maybe need to be reevaluated. So when you look at making moves to modern technology in HRIS, many times it kind of forces the customer or the organization to look at their processes. There might be some way, antiquated way, that maybe is not as efficient that we need to be. And having this system all in one central hub helps you really look at those systems and make some changes if needed. And our group would help you go through that process through a consultative approach.
So we had a question. Could we go back to the slide with what makes the employee experience so important, which I have that slide up now, and talk a little bit more about how your product can meet these needs.
So, I mean, specific to a module, is that what the question is? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the slide about avoiding burnout, higher performance, save money, impact recruiting. Talk a little bit about how our platform can address these and enable these.
Sure, and some of these speak to the platform itself. So as I mentioned earlier, platform as a service is we have many different modules that integrate and interoperable. So we do have HRIS that works with other parts of our platform, which includes the onboarding, learn, perform, and maybe some of you may already be enjoying those solutions, but having them tightly integrated, I think helps with creating stickiness within the organization and becoming more embedded in your day-to-day processes. So when you think about you know, burnout, you're thinking about employees that may not have, you know, even the way that their timesheet, you know, just the way that they're deployed to a specific assignment, and we're capturing time. And by the way, just a little bit of a note, we are looking to launch a scheduling application, which we're excited about. We're launching that at this time, probably around mid to end of the year, which we're excited about that, and there'll be more conversation about that. So I think just better management of the whole workforce management experience. Keeping employees happy. I mean, you know, sometimes it's a point in time, an employee being happy, but I think having the tools that they need, whether it's a flexible work schedule, you know, whether they're going through the appropriate learning trainings, they're getting their performance evaluations, they see what they need in terms of their time. So their time entry on a daily basis, they see in their mobile app, they're getting their pay information. There's nothing that they need that they have to go and drag it out of somebody on the HR side, because it's something that is complete total enablement. And then, you know, what that means just in terms of dollars is the more the employee is engaged and enabled and empowered, the less likely that employee is going to leave, because they feel that they're a critical part of the employee's process. And ultimately, there's the recruiting aspect to that, right? So we want to be able to recruit folks that, you know, folks that have experience either working with a company that could recommend to family and friends, once that they know that the solutions that are being offered by NeoGov are interoperable, integrated, and kind of complete the entire cycle.
So one last question is, we had a question regarding what are some non-technology ways for us to create a more positive environment for our employees. And for those of you that may have seen our 2023 trends report, one of the trends was definitely around employee development. Being able to put together a plan for a documented plan for employee development, and making sure that performance evaluations are focused on employee development and how they are able to develop over the course of their career is very important to making sure that people feel like they work in a positive environment. The other thing that we have found is that people want to feel a part of something that's bigger than they are, their individual efforts are. And so one of the things that I think for the public sector is that we're really serving the community and taking pride and feeling a part of the community and improving the community and engaging with the community, feeling part of a larger calling is another way that you can improve the employee experience. And when we look at what is key to employees, they really are looking for that, that calling in what they do. Also taking advantage of benefits is very important, and being able to easily sign up for and use benefits is another important key piece in the overall employee experience, and it shows how much they're valued and respected.
And I was going to just add to that, Kate, when you think about, you know, even things that don't cost a lot of money, like the employee recognition, employee of the month, employee newsletter, spotlight on employees. It's not always about the compensation. It's about that they matter. The work that they do matters to the business. And so I think just calling out employees means a lot. In my experience, I've seen that, and I've been in HCM my whole career. Yes, money's important, but most of the time that I'm dealing with employees, especially remote workforce, it was about the recognition that the work that they're doing is important, and it should be called out by leadership.
Thank you. So I think we're going to, that's the end of our questions. So we're going to wrap this up. Just a reminder that tomorrow you will receive all of these slides as well as a link to the report. And we will be looking forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody.